Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening. Tonight's agenda, first of all, to make a few announcements. The town is still looking for volunteers for alternates on the ZBA and the planning board. And we're still looking for volunteers for anyone on a garden club to help with some plantings around town. There's going to be an Easter egg hunt on April 13th at Highbridge Hill Elementary School. The townwide cleanup day is scheduled for April 27th at Memorial Field on Temple Road, which will go from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. Also, we received a notice from Northeast Wilderness Trust that up at the Binney Hill Preserve area, they are looking for volunteers on April 27th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. for a tree planting program that they're going to be doing up there. They ask if you are interested. RSVP.
There is a website down there someplace.
Right there. April 27th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Any questions can go to Shelby at newilderness.org or call 802-224-1000. We have two appointments this evening. JB Mack, Southwest Region Planning, and Kyle Hollenbaugh. We're going, you're JB. Yep. Since I know we're going to take longer, I want to try and get Kyle and company out of the way first.
Sounds good.
Let's go.
We'll be quick, right?
I'm here with Bos this evening. You guys know me, Ed Rogers. We're here just to talk about the property next to the Dollar General. That was originally subdivided a few years ago off of Giselle Hackler's property, and then it was re-subdivided last fall into three lots with frontage on Turnpike Road. So we wanted to let you know that the driveway, as it was depicted on the plan that was submitted to the planning board, was a little further to the east than what we have now, and it's been moved to the west it serves several purposes. It lines up better with an existing intersection, so it kind of, DOT was more favorable to this alignment. They had originally encouraged us to try to get it there if we thought we could, and originally we didn't think we could get it there because of sight distance. But we were fortunate enough that during the construction of the Dollar General, some site grading on the Dollar General property had graded back the bank enough that now sight distance was good enough from this location that is directly across from Gibbs Ave. So after we checked the topography in front of the Dollar General, we realized that this would in fact work, and we re-permitted that driveway location with DOT District 4. So they approved that location, and that's where it's been constructed if you've driven by there. So we do plan, one thing we will have to do is as-built this location, and we're going to file a new easement plan because the easement was shown a little further to the east on the recorded plan from the planning board. So that's what we're planning to do, just to make that clear. We just wanted to let you know, because I know there's been questions. We've heard just through the grapevine that some people have wondered why is the driveway here when it was, approved in that location, so.
And that's the question that's been asked to me, and I'm gonna ask you, why would they have gone and done that without coming back to the planning board for approval?
Because it's a DOT driveway permit, so that would.
Ed, you know as well as I do, DOT driveway permit approval is required to get the access off the road.
Correct, and we had,
Did DOT deny your permit for where it was shown on the planning board plan?
no.
Okay.
Actually, what happened was the agent at DOT who
Yeah.
approved the curb cut permit that was submitted to the planning board encouraged us to move it. And I told them, as the engineer who was gonna stamp the plan,
Yeah.
that I didn't feel we had enough site distance. Once the weather once they got a little closer to construction, and Home Lowe's asked me, could we move this? I said, I don't think we can. And when we went out there, we realized that the Dollar General had regraded the bank, thus eliminating the 2-foot windrow that was limiting the site distance. There would have been 2 feet of snow on top of the bank in front of the Dollar General that's no longer gonna be there. So at that point, I resubmitted it to Frank Lindenberger at DOT, and I said, you were right. Yeah, we could get it closer, so they gave us the permit. They approved the original one, and they approved this one. And that location was never denied a permit, so.
And I look at it, I'm just saying, the town has been trying to set up a process, we've had the discussions, you've been at many of the meetings, to make sure that what is on the plan is what our inspections are being based off, and any changes to be made automatically require you to come back to the planning board. And let me just,
Sure.
I think, and I'm only talking personally now, I think the location where it got put is a good location because it left the field open. Okay.
Yeah, that was not the reason.
But on the downside, I travel that road a lot. And I know, again, personally, when I'm driving, if somebody's turning into Dollar General, I'm more apt to go right around them. And my concern is that short distance between the two driveways means I gotta make sure I stop behind these people from now on, because somebody could be coming out that driveway. But I think my main concern was getting the approval of the planning board. And that's why, Kyle, I think last time when you came in, you said, what should I do? I said, well, at least use that as your temporary road now. Go to the planning board, see if you get it approved, and if not, and it's gotta for some reason, it's gotta go back, then deal with that at that point.
Well, we're planning to meet with the board on the 17th. but,
Okay.
Go ahead, Bruce. Did you-
I was just gonna say, the next meeting of the board is the 17th.
Yeah.
If, submit a letter to Debbie asking to meet with the board if you haven't done so already.
Yeah.
And I don't think the board will have any issues with it, just we wanna get the i's dotted, t's crossed.
I will say that I don't believe this requires the board's approval.
What ordinance do we have? Oh,
The reason is, what was approved last fall was a subdivision, not a site plan. So there's lots of things that are on that subdivision that aren't going to be built or they were shown, including the house locations. And we really, I showed the houses all being built in the back. There's no reason why someone can't come in and apply to build in the front building. The wells are going to be in different locations. The septic's may not be in the full case. The subdivision process is to prove that these lots are buildable and make sure that they all have access. And none of those conditions have changed. These lots are all buildable and they all have access. So I didn't feel that required the planning board's approval. Would it be different if this was on a town road? Maybe, because the town has jurisdiction over the class 5 roads. But I didn't feel like it needed approval. But that that's a discussion we'd be glad to have with the board on the
Yeah.
17th.
I would just, come on in on 17th.
Yeah.
Question, I heard that your construction process on the house was being held up as part of this. Is that true or not?
Well, that's something we'd like to clarify this evening. We're not sure. My opinion is if an applicant has all of the items they need for a building permit, then they should be granted a building permit. I don't see how an applicant here wouldn't have all the items they need for a building permit.
And I'll have to check with Rick, but I'm thinking if we issue a building permit, okay, that means that the town's approving that property getting built. What if the planning board says, well, the road's gotta go back? Does that have an impact on where that house is? Does it have an impact on getting a CO? If not,
Yeah.
I agree, they issue the building permit.
Yeah, it shouldn't, in my mind. And,
Do you have a copy of where the road is now and where it was proposed?
yes.
How far apart are they?
I'll have to scale it real quick, but it's not too much different. This is the original approved, location. This is what got recorded. So what we plan to do is do an as-built and record another copy of that.
Where's, you got a page that shows the road?
And then this is where it got built, so it appears that we were about 30 feet from the pipe.
Is it center line?
I guess that's center line here.
Yeah, what we showed was just center line on the recorded plan. And so it's been moved,
But you did have a plan that showed the road, correct? It may have been page 2.
So now you're
yes. there was-
effectively
So we
butting up against a stone wall?
moved about 150 feet.
Yeah.
Um, It is,
That's pretty substantial.
there's room with the ditch. The ditch is between the wall and the driveway now. So that's where it's located.
And where is that draining now? Or where will it drain?
So,
Cross culverts or something?
so this has been designed, and I can leave you with a copy of this.
No.
This is the current
No,
driveway
no, we
design.
don't need
No.
that. No, bring it to the land board. but-
Basically runoff that comes down off the Dollar General, goes down this ditch and drains across there. And that was the most logical place. That's kind of where the water wanted to go.
Yeah.
And it also hopefully will maybe keep this field from becoming a well.
But if I recall, Dollar General also has a detention pond in this area here.
Yep, they got a detention basin back here that discharges onto their property, and that is being, that's conducted through this culvert here. So,
And then down some sort of swale across the field.
yeah. Well, actually, it goes pretty much into a swale here, and the wetland, we had this delineated, we had it looked at a couple times. The wetland starts right there. So
Is that
it
where your
just-
green shading is?
Yeah, it just discharges into the wetland at that point.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty substantial change. I would say, the planning board should at least look at it and see if they have any comments.
Yeah.
But as far as holding up the house construction, given this is going to be a house location pretty much regardless, whether they come in this way
Yeah.
or come in this way, because if you look at this,
Well, which house are they building?
that one right
That
there,
one?
This is the one that you wanna build.
I don't think it makes much of a difference, the way this thing is set up, in terms
Does this eventually tie into the road that you put in?
Yeah. Basically, that's the only part that's changed. The rest of this is the same.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the house is,
Now, have they held up the permit? Or was that just a question?
Yeah, So that's why we're here. Like, last time when I asked, you're like, oh, use it as temporary. So I thought, and then Bert said they're not meeting for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
I figured, okay, we'll get the
You did-
building permit, get the foundation in,
Uh,
and then if it is an issue, we'll meet with the planning board.
We did come in on the 23rd, and apparently that meeting had been
Canceled.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And,
Black Oak Quorum.
So we were hoping then to meet with the board
Yeah.
first Wednesday, and that's
Yeah.
also been pushed off, so I did email Debbie and say we would
Yeah.
like to be on the 17th.
Well, can we issue a building or
It'll be
approval to build contingent upon them
Yeah,
meeting with the
yeah.
planning board?
Yeah.
Does that solve your
Yeah.
issues? You
In other words, we'll
keep pounding
give you
nails.
the building permit, we won't give you the CO until this is,
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Resolved.
That's
Yeah.
fair. Okay.
which should take you much longer to build
So-
than.
I just have a question. You guys keep saying, like, beating around the bush, kind of, if it did hold up the building permit, which I'm wondering who,
If what held up the building permit?
if this issue.
Building the road where it was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You guys didn't build that, or you did?
I didn't, that's why I'm
I
asking
heard
you.
it was, but I wasn't involved in the permit
Yeah.
process.
Okay.
That's
I
why
know when I
asked
spoke
it.
with Laurie, I had told her, I says, I would have held up the building permit until that got,
So you
Resolved.
suggested it?
I told her if it were me, I would have held up the building permit, is what I'm saying.
Alright, because that's not what I heard. from
Okay.
Lori, because I don't have a building permit.
Well, Rick's the building official, he's the one that issues the building permits, that's why I asked you, was it held up?
Okay,
And you now have told me, yes, it was.
yeah,
So I wrote down here, check with Rick on issuing the building permit.
okay.
But I think this is definitely a fair resolution.
Yeah.
You know,
But in the future, unless there's something you know in the ordinance that I'm missing, any change on an approved plan requires planning board resubmission.
okay,
Yep.
and maybe we can discuss that further with the planning board on the
Yep.
17th to clarify, because I still don't believe that there's just too many changes that occur on these subdivisions. You'd be seeing these back all the time. The house is not in the same location as it was shown on the subdivision plan. The well is moved, the 4K area is moved. That's pretty much a par for the course for subdivisions. Now, in this case, not all subdivisions have a common driveway, so that's another element. But in my opinion, when the interested parties are the state DOT and the individual lot owners, at that point, I think it is between those interested parties. There are lots of easements in town that are held between abutting owners, and they have the right to adjust those locations.
Now, without going back to planning board. And I'm just gonna tell you from a personal experience
don't agree
in
with
another town where it happened to me, was I was gonna move my driveway to another location. I had to go back, have the whole thing re-engineered and presented to the planning board.
But I don't agree with that. I think you should,
No, I agreed with them. I said, oh, I'm not putting it in where I told you I was going to, and I
yeah.
redid it.
Affected parties, again.
I hated paying the
affected
bill, but-
parties- The affected parties, and if it was on a class 5 road.
Class
I
5?
think I would agree with you, because one of the affected parties now is the town of Ipswich, but in this case, the affected parties are these landowners and DOT.
You're
Yeah.
right, Ed, that you named the two affected parties, but the town has a vested interest in how things go together, period.
I was just curious,
One thing I just wanted to say, just to clarify, the plan was, if I'm not mistaken, Ed, was after the changes, depending on how landscape and that worked on the backside, coming down the backside, was to resubmit or do an as-built to the Mylar. So to answer the question, you know, was it going to be, or to the statement that it should be brought back before the planning board, it was the plan all along to do an as-built on the driveway after.
just so you understand though, is that is a requirement of our subdivision regulation. And that's just so that the town then receives an as-built to know where the lots are, so we can put it into a system at some point in time.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
as far as when you go and you make a change from where it was approved, that's what I'm trying to, bless you, trying to alleviate, is that what comes in is what
Yeah.
goes in.
So, I mean, being, whether it was, say, I don't know, when did we start? 2 weeks ago, or in another 3 weeks after the driveway was in, because we said, well, before the Milo submitted, we'll get it established where the center line is, shoot the points, put it on the new plan, and then submit that. So between those two, there should be another approval of the driveway, and then,
You know, when this plan here was done, that's when it should have come to the planning board. Simultaneously that you're meeting with DOT. Probably have met with DOT first just to get their approval, but then
Yeah.
just get it to the planning board so that they can,
Date on your
you're all
plan.
set. Then when people ask us, how come that's
I mean,
not where it
I
is?
think it was
No, it
approved by
is.
DOT
Yeah.
on February 6th.
Yeah, so, I mean, we could have jumped in front of the planning board and you wouldn't even be here.
The question is, what is the process for that?
I-
It's not a new application.
It's not an application, it's not a new subdivision. I would say just a letter, and the planning board would vote to approve or disapprove.
I think it's almost, what do they call it, an administrative decision.
Yeah,
Because in
it's-
some towns, you know, when you have a town planner, it's
It's a
small
matter
enough,
of
they make a decision.
getting the paperwork in the files.
Okay. And we'd be glad to do that. I mean, like Kate was saying, you know, the last step here is, the town and the board is going to get a copy of a new easement plan. In the future, I mean, honestly, I didn't think you'd want to be bothered with this. I
No.
really didn't.
No.
But that's okay. We can-
It's the calls that come in after that really bother us.
No, and.
You guys coming in is not a bother.
Honestly, we
You
have,
know that no matter where that driveway is built, the calls were. Right?
But at least then I could say, but it was here.
but we've had enforcement issues in the past, and we're trying to get past our enforcement issues.
Okay, I appreciate that, I appreciate that. So we were planning to keep our date with the planning board.
Yep. Submit a letter to Debbie asking to meet, and she'll get you on the agenda.
I do have another issue. The name of the road. Who, we need to have, what do I do?
There's a name.
We did submit a name.
You did, and it got approved.
Okay.
You wanna know what it is?
Yeah.
We do know what it is now, and this has been on.
You
my-
do know what it is?
This has been on my list of to-do things, I apologize, Kyle, but, they have discussed changing that name before any COs are given, before anybody's got an official address on it. Would it be possible to change that name?
It's already been done, I think, in order to issue a permit. When the permits are written up, 911, I think it is, we have to register the name so that they can get a number to put on that address.
Okay.
Do you remember what it was? Lanterns, I've got it here in my notes.
Something like that, I think it was Lantern. Considering that the building permit hasn't been issued yet,
Then that means it's gonna come back to the board.
would it require, and that would have to come back to you guys?
Lantern Way,
Okay.
2 words.
So you couldn't approve it now, so then when we go to the planning board, we don't have to wait again?
Has to be a
Planning
form-
board doesn't approve it.
It's selectmen, formal
It's a
thing.
selectman, yeah.
Okay.
Why would you want, let me just give you my 2 cents. Prior to this even coming up, the board had discussed what we would like to see when naming new roads or
Yeah. Just
right
so-
aways, is to use some type of historic name, okay? When this one came in, I think it was like 2 weeks prior, so we're saying, well, we really didn't give a notice, but this is what we wanted to do. This was the name that was submitted, we said, well, it's appropriate, and that's why that got approved.
Yeah.
What are you looking, or why would you wanna change it now?
Well, since it's historical, like you guys wanted, and so the other suggestions were like Foster or something else. Was the Fletcher, because those were the previous property owners.
Oh,
So we just had a thought, we're like, Steve Hackla was the previous owner. His middle name was Douglas. My middle name's Douglas. My dad's is Douglas. My kid's Douglas. So I'm like, I don't know.
Lantern Way it is.
We've taken active
you can
progress at
submit
this point,
a
so
formal
No, it's
request to
not.
change the
Yeah.
name, and we'll go through the
Yep.
gyrations, but it's like naming a kid. You only wanna do it once, you don't wanna give it a lot of thought.
So, I still have a problem, like, I turned my building permit in, and they said, we cannot do this, we were told not to do this.
No, I'll talk to them tomorrow.
Okay, because that really irritates me.
Because now the equipment's gone.
I had one day to turn in my building permit, get my building permit, and dig the hole before he left.
Poor planning. Poor planning.
Oh.
I'm sorry, but, you know,
Well,
it's.
okay, so who's gonna let me know when you talk to her? Because I wanna know what happened.
She's on vacation.
What
so-
happened
Oh,
during that?
She is, but Debbie's here.
Yep. So is someone gonna let me know? Because I wanna
Yes,
know.
yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Like email, phone call. I wanna know how it's gonna get to me. I'm not gonna.
Is your, I'm assuming your phone number is on the application.
Yep. And what do I expect?
That I can't tell you,
Good.
but I will talk with her,
Okay.
okay?
All right.
I came down to say about the building permit and the driveway permit, and Lori said, there's no need for a driveway permit, cause it's from the state. So
Correct.
that's why we didn't worry about it.
Yeah. But you understand about, it's
Yeah.
just land planning is part of the planning board's
But
purview.
that's why it's like this, cause it was like there was no need, so.
It doesn't seem like there's a good, this is what you do.
See, when it's on a, as Ed described, a class 5 road, a town road,
That's what you do.
then Peter, the highway, has to go out there to make sure that the drainage culverts, et cetera, are put in, because we don't have engineered plans. You know, somebody's building an individual lot. But in this case here, where it was an approved subdivision, then it's a different set of criteria.
Well, we appreciate your time this evening.
Sure.
And,
Thank you.
Good luck.
Even though I don't appreciate the poor planning, I do not appreciate it.
Don't take it personally. How you doing, Mark?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Nice to meet you.
Pleasure.
So the reason why we came up with the Douglas Drive is we feel like when we were at the closing with Giselle Hackler, Terry asked her, what was Steve's middle name? And she said Douglas. So that's how we came up with that. And we just thought it would be really nice to be able to name it
You know, you got a
Douglas
good
Drive.
resource right there that I'll bet you he could find somewhere historically the name Douglas in the town.
Probably good.
Couldn't you, Mr. Rogers?
I'm sure there have been some Douglases.
There you go.
But,
Well, thank you guys.
All right.
Nice to meet you.
We'll see you, Mark.
Okay.
So, would it be too difficult if we resubmitted that? Would it take a week or would it take a year if we resubmitted
Oh, it's
that?
only a week, but it would be really nice if you had something to say, we want to name it this, and, oh, by the way, here's a historical reference to it.
Okay.
That would be outstanding.
Yes.
Can't guarantee there's a historical reference on that piece of property, other
No, but
than, other than Steve. You know, Steve Hackler.
Yeah, but that means like any developer coming in,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah. Okay.
All right,
All right.
fair enough?
Thanks, guys.
Thanks. Mr. Matt? Hi, thank you for your patience.
No problem.
Uh,
If I could say so, you're totally within your rights to require that they notify you about the change in, especially 130 feet. That's, I don't understand where he's coming from with that.
Yeah, we are always
Site
trying
plan
to.
or subdivision road, that's the backbone of the land planning that you have for the subdivision. Makes a big difference.
Thank you.
So, Carlotta contacted me and asked me to come in. My understanding is that you have some goals or ideas about doing some, I think part of it's, my understanding stems from the TAP application that the town has repeatedly submitted, that's a Transportation Alternatives Program
yep.
to DOT, and it unfortunately hasn't been, we haven't received the grant funding. It's a very competitive program. But my understanding is also you're looking at sort of the main downtown Main Street area, Village Center area, and maybe doing some revitalization and so what I wanna do first, I don't have a lot of information. I wanna kind of do some listening and hear a little bit more about what your goals are. And then I can sort of plug in and talk about some of the things that the planning commission might be able to do to help out. If that's okay with you.
Yes, it is, perfect. And thank you for coming. We
problem.
appreciate that.
My pleasure.
I'm not so sure that we're associating the TAP program with that.
Okay.
But since you brought it up, and we've tried for this grant for at least 3 years.
Recycled,
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
What is it that we're doing wrong? We're doing something wrong. That's not getting the attention.
Yeah.
Because when I look at it just as an individual from a safety perspective, it almost seems like, yeah, this is the way to go. And I'm just curious, from your own insight,
Yeah.
any recommendations?
Well, I think part of it is presentation of the application, to have a lot of extra, I hate to say this, but bells and whistles associated
Okay.
with it.
Okay.
Support letters, a really good map, really good cost estimates, references to other planning documents that you might have. Let's say in the master plan, it's identified as, a priority for the town. All those kinds of things where you show the connections and you show the community support are gonna go pretty long way in terms of bolstering the application.
Okay,
I'm not saying that you had a lot of some of those things.
right.
We
We could have improved.
I think there's, and that's actually a place where the planning commission can come in and help a little bit.
Okay,
We back when Woody Miser was selectman,
Yep.
I think it was the first time you guys attempted the grant application, and I had come out to talk to him and the road agent at the time. And we built a pretty good application, but I think it could be improved. But that's something that the planning commission, if we've got a little bit of notice, I can come in, I can proofread your application, I can give you some ideas on how to bolster it and strengthen it. But the fact of the matter is, it's a really competitive program. It's about, I wanna say, there was somewhere around $6 million for this entire state, and I think there was a request of over $30 million. And that's actually one of the smaller requests in the past few cycles. So it's extremely competitive. It's federal money too, so it's not a straight, there's actually pockets of funding. Some of that money goes to very urbanized areas, some goes to rural areas, and some goes to middle population areas. So it gets very complicated and very, it's tricky. But you have a good project because it's about children crossing the street, going to the athletic fields and
I know they changed the
think
name
it's-
because before, Safe Routes to School, and I'm like, if that doesn't meet that criteria,
well, this grant still, what Congress did is they folded up the Safe Routes to School under this heading of transportation alternatives. So
okay,
it's still, Safe Routes to School is one of the eligible activities or projects that you can
Okay.
still do.
well, we'll give us a little more focus next time.
Yeah, I think, I'm willing to come in and we can take a look at an application. We know that we can expect that Congress is gonna reauthorize that programming. It's very popular. I think that's a safe bet. And we can start talking about building a better application right away.
Okay,
You might wanna start thinking about, having some data sets, like getting some speed data. I can't remember what you have there now.
we do have traffic studies from maybe 2 or 3 years ago for that area.
Dollar General
Yeah.
or something.
Maybe some
Yeah.
estimates of how many student crossings are occurring. Those kinds of, all that kind of, it just shows you're really prepared you've studied the problem, you know this is the way to go.
Can we get a copy of a winning application? I mean, you usually,
winning
if
application?
if somebody else won the race, you
I
know,
think I
let's
can
figure out how
probably-
they did it and,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
copy them.
that's
If you
a good
could send
idea.
us one
Yeah.
to Carlotta and she can disseminate it.
Yeah. One thing that I'll also mention is that, at least in the southwest part of New Hampshire, southwest New Hampshire did really well. Swansea, Keene, and who's the other one? Hinsdale, all got TAP awards this past cycle. Every single one of those communities is what's called a complete streets community. So they've done a lot of public involvement activity to get the town to buy into the importance of safe streets for walking and bicycling. And they actually have policies that their select boards have adopted, or city council in the case of Keene.
And they have the resources, and that's
Well,
what
Keene
is our
does.
challenge, is that
Yeah.
to say, yeah, you see a lot of this grant going to Nashua, Concord,
Yeah.
Keene. We're like, yeah, if you had full-time people dedicated to that, it'd be great, but
That's true. And that's where maybe the planning commission can come in, somebody like myself that has some familiarity with this stuff that can help you.
and that'd be great.
prepared. I'm not saying I'm like magical or anything.
No, but
But it
you
gets
have
in the
more
best
insight,
position-
you
yeah,
know.
but best position possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. So with that one put aside, one of the things that the previous board had set as a goal, and this current board has started to put this forward again, is the town has spent probably for the last 8 years improving all of our roads. Okay, so we now have nice roads, people coming into town, and there's no. I hear it all the time. Well, where's the center of New Ipswich? You know, you drive through and it's here. You know, everybody that lives here knows where it is. And the other thing is, people talk about having a commons, okay, which, you know, as a New Hampshire town, we don't have.
Right.
And the thought process is there a way that we can economically spruce up to make the center, because we're looking at it to say, because of our remoteness, because we don't have the infrastructure, to get the tax base to support programs like cities have, we're more of a bedroom community. Or we're going to become a go-to destination. There's something there that people are attracted to. So we're saying, well, if we want to make it that, then let's start with the improvement where people are coming into the town.
Sure.
And whatever insight you could share with us or
Yeah.
guide us along, that'd be terrific.
Yeah, well, I think it's a common issue that a lot of towns have. And I think there's examples of things that neighboring communities have done that you can take a look at. The first thing I would say is, this kind of thing, as a planner, I have a little bit of a bias, but, to me, the importance of public buy-in, citizen buy-in into your vision, what I think would be beneficial is through your master planning process, that unless it's already been, and I apologize, I didn't look at your master plan before I came here. But that's gotta be a document, that's an ideal document to state the vision that you just, gave to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it starts there usually, if that's the ideal way to start it.
And our master plan does say they're looking to get more businesses here, okay? And if you ask, you know, the layperson, then, you know, why can't we get BAE systems or whatever, and understanding that we don't have the infrastructure to support that, I think people just love the character of the town. They like the small community.
Sure.
So to promote the small businesses,
Yep.
and for an example, there's Windblown cross-country ski area. Now, many people come to New Ipswich going there, so how do we, support them with that, but also provide others amenities and attractions here in town that can help us with that
Sure.
base?
Yeah, so, I mean, there's a couple of different things that I'm hearing you say. Some of it is drawing people in for events and things, and some of it sounded like you're also talking about design and making it maybe a more comfortable space for people to hang out and
Mhm.
enjoy themselves. On the design part of it, one good resource, I don't know if you've heard about it, is something called Plan New Hampshire.
Yeah.
And they bring in professionals, and it kind of depends on what your needs are,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they'll have landscape architects, sometimes they'll have housing experts or economic development experts, sometimes they'll have planners that come in, and sometimes they'll do design work for you as well, which is really nice in terms of inspiring people to see something different that you maybe could do with the village area to get people excited about it, and something that they can, instead of talking about it abstractly or in abstract. So that's one possibility. The planning commission, we've done those kinds of things. We're able to provide those kinds of services if there's a transportation link to it, because we have a contract with New Hampshire DOT to provide technical assistance to the communities. So if it's about making it more walkable, more bikeable, there might be a way where we can be involved in designing some sort of public forum
Mm-hmm.
to talk about what could be, and maybe doing what they call a charrette. We don't have, but one thing that we don't have at the planning commission is someone that does design, or that can, that's where. Planning
Show us a
Commission
vision,
would come.
yeah.
So we do everything on paper or in writing or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
And facilitation. The other idea that you talked about drawing in events, I've heard a lot of talk about revamping websites as an important first step for promoting your businesses. I think I've seen that you guys have.
We just revamped it.
Yeah. But I haven't explored it, and I don't
Okay.
know if it's mostly about town business, or if it talks about the history of the community or the businesses, or.
The history of the community, it has mainly town items. There isn't anything I can recall as far as promoting businesses. I know I went on one recently, I think it was Londonderry's, and they had a page for each of their businesses.
I know that the state agency that does economic development, they've toured around the state talking about how to create a website that, attracts people to your town.
Who was that? Sage? Did you
So
say?
they used to be called DRED,
Oh,
Department of Resources and
Yeah,
Economic
yeah.
Development, and now, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting what their name is, but I can look it up and certainly send it to you, or to Carlotta.
is
The
that
other
the
thing that-
strategic initiatives?
Yeah, Office of Strategic Initiatives.
Yeah.
Well, there's an economic development component to that, though.
Okay.
Partnerships, public-private partnerships. Does the town have a relationship with a particular chamber of commerce or any civic groups in the
You
area?
even have a Rotary here.
Yeah. So, that's what I think of when I think of events, that you wanna make New Ipswich a destination, for example, to draw people in for a day or a weekend or whatever.
But I'm thinking, and I'm sure, I'm trying to be a sponge and absorb it all. In my mind, what I'm thinking is someplace where they go shopping, they go eating, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's a way of incorporating events that'd be terrific.
Right. Well, that's gonna, you know, if you have an event that draws people to the community, you know, look at neighboring Jaffrey, so they do a couple things. They do 4th of July, they do that scarecrow, event.
Oh, yes, yep, downtown. Yeah.
You know, they've got different ideas that they've developed over the years that over the years become more and more known, and it sort of gets people to come to the community, and that's when they come to the shops and they dine at the shops and become more familiar with the community, and not just a pass-through area, it's more of a destination. I think event planning is definitely something that's worth thinking about, but you need, you know, volunteers and people to run the show and get it going, and champions, you know, to keep it moving.
Yeah. Those are kind of the top ideas, and that might not be. I don't think there's a magic bullet. Hmm.
You know, I go back to planning and making sure you have, you're creating the flexibility that attracts the kinds of businesses that are going to attract people to your community. What are the amenities that people are going to be looking for? Do you have the right amount of restaurants, and do you have, and the kinds of restaurants that are going to attract people to come to Ipswich?
Well, that's what we have to get first, because we have
Pizza
lunch places,
places.
and you know, sandwich or,
Yeah.
Yeah,
but there's no dining.
yeah, I mean, if you wanted a nice evening meal with a well-cooked steak, there is no place to go.
Yeah, right.
We also don't have public sewerage, which I
Right.
think
Well, that's
is-
that's.
But many restaurants can
Yeah,
work without it.
okay.
That's
Yeah.
a simple one. Now, if you're talking bringing in a manufacturing facility, that's not so easy. But
Does the town have land? I mean, first of all, is there a lot of available land for development
Yes.
for if somebody wanted to come in?
Yeah, I mean, we have, 30 square miles and the population of 5,000, so
Yeah,
I mean,
there's plenty of
What's your
land.
commercial
large
zoning?
tracts.
But your commercial zoning is,
We have no
Mm.
defined commercial zoning, I guess is the way to put it.
correct. It's all by special exception.
yeah.
But like it, you know, the vision has always been it's going to be a long-term Pike Road. And for example, I don't know if you're familiar with Central School, right in the center of town that got closed. The
Yeah,
gentleman bought it, refurbished it back as a school, and has individual tenants now. My understanding is there's going to be a restaurant going in there.
oh,
But, you know, these are the little steps, and, you know, we're trying to encourage that type of business growth.
Yeah.
You know, it's the
Right.
smaller tenant that, you know, there's gonna be a need.
yeah.
A few years ago, we had another home right off there, that chocolatier, you know, so hey,
Yeah, I
that'll
mean,
bring people in.
you know, we have a lot of, I'm gonna call them cottage industries.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
You know, I mean, you got things like Blueberry Hill Bakers, you got the Porterhouse Chocolate Place,
Yep.
Porter Hill Chocolate Place, and there's a few others, you know, there are people selling eggs, there's Amazing Flowers up the street there. But they're not like massive attractors, they're kind of geared to the local populace.
Mhm.
You know, people don't come from out of town to you know, partake.
Right. Yeah,
and I guess what I'm really trying to drive at this evening to try and understand is looking at this, that it's a step process. What are my first baby steps that we should be looking to do?
to me, if it's just this group in this room that has this idea, then you need to build the idea, which required, in my mind, would involve doing much more public involvement to create a vision. You know, host host a public forum, and maybe the planning commission can help be sort of a neutral facilitator if you need it. To talk about, hey, we wanna make this, we don't want this to become strip development. We want this to be continue to be a smaller town, but we do wanna make this, more of a destination. We do wanna attract, maybe you identify what are the things that you wanna see in this town that we don't have today. That you don't wanna go 15 miles to get whatever, to buy or to go eat. Start having those community conversations, and then you start finding people that are champions, and they also see that the town leadership is supportive of these ideas and aren't here to, we just heard the people that came in previously that wondering if the town is getting in the way of them trying to do their project, when in fact, you were doing due diligence.
Well, I hate to say it, but there is a strong undercurrent
Yeah,
of people here in town who do not want to see New Ipswich further developed.
sure,
I mean, I've heard that expressed a couple times. We don't want any more strip malls. We don't
Yeah.
want a bar and restaurant. We
Okay.
don't want a big business moving in and changing the character of the town. We don't want mass housing, or a trailer park.
yep,
And, quite honestly, it's been expressed by some of the more affluent people in town, people who are earning $100,000 plus. And, they're the people who, are involved in a number of the causes. But I've also heard, that New Ipswich is one of the best kept secrets in New Hampshire. It's very close to the Mass border, we're right on it. So it's a great bedroom community, and it is hidden from the world. We are isolated.
yeah,
We're the whole of the donut. Jaffrey's good, Peterborough's good. You can go down to Fitchburg or wherever, but we're trying to stay. There's that undercurrent where let's leave it
leave it
as
be.
is
Yeah,
to retain the character that's New Ipswich. I don't know if that's the proper mental attitude, but that is the attitude of some people.
Sure.
So I think we're going to see some pushback. I know your ideas, Dave, and I think they're great ideas. To centralize something down in the middle of the town, to create a common. I've heard a lot of people say, this is a New Hampshire town, where is the public common? Usually they have that gated area or fenced area in the middle with beautiful grass and perfectly level. I mean, most we can offer is an athletic field down there. I just don't know, how do we convince people that New Ipswich, in order to survive, needs to grow? So, I mean, I'm seeing, a lot of murky currents underneath the surface.
sure.
But
And I think that's, I don't know if you're unique in that way. I think there's always gonna be people, but you're right. I mean, whoever shows up, is the one that kind of claims the day or decides what's gonna happen.
But there are many people that say, there's no place to go and eat. There's not a pub here. We want to go anywhere, you're going to go to Peterborough, you're going to go to Nashua, Milford. It's not here in town. So that only addresses one segment, and it's an important segment. But there are other things to augment the community, I think, that would benefit. And I agree with you, we've had it before, is that we've got to somehow engage the public to come forth with suggestions.
I think so, because in the end, you're not fighting an uphill battle. If you can make, I have a strong belief that if you make everything transparent and you work to build buy-in, it's almost like you're working in Congress or something, and you have to find all these co-sponsors, and you kind of you got to build the support along the way. Otherwise, it could be a very frustrating battle. And then you get more people lending hands and providing assistance. You find those champions that are really excited about, oh, you wanna do a flower festival now in New Ipswich, I'm just making that up.
Yeah,
And there's some people in town that just love the idea of it and said, I'll do it, you know, I don't think there's a magic bullet, but this is just based on my experience working with towns.
so the first thing is to somehow get a forum, public forum,
I think a community conversation and I think defining it, you know, I go back to where's New Ipswich right now with its master plan?
it gets updated, sections of it
Sections.
periodically.
What about the vision section? When
You
was
know,
that?
the truth is, the planning board last voted to accept it as is, because realistically, the whole thing is, the last survey was done 15, 20 years ago of the town in general, a total survey of the town, and the bottom line was that the town residents would like everything, but they don't wanna pay for it. Okay? The master plan really has not been updated for a solid 10 years. Most of it, in my opinion, is fluff. It does not have a clear vision, it just kind of talks in general about a lot of generalities.
Yeah. I just.
That's how all of them are.
Yeah.
You can't be specific, it's,
Well, but you can, I personally like to see the master plan that leads to project ideas, you know, that you can.
Well, I mean, we used to do our CIP every 5 years. Now, we've started doing it every 2 years, and we came up with a lot of good ideas on the last iteration and the current iteration. And one of the themes that we came up with, you know, I think Dave, you had some input on this, was a central park or a memorial park or a walking park of some sort, which was a great idea. Question was, where do we put it? You know, and how do we pay for it? I mean, I think we budgeted it something a little close to $250,000. The town just does not want to spend any more money. You know, on a side note, and I'll segue into this, we've had a number of discussions in the last month or so about a new police station. We've, you know, presented to the town folks 2 viable proposals. Both were rejected. We're going to push again for another proposal, but we have to convince the townsfolk that they really do need a police station, not a medieval hovel that we have up off of Turnpike. But we don't know how to do that. And I was going to ask you if you know of any grants for police station or grant money that we could tap into, or some way to make it a less bitter pill to swallow for the town.
No, I don't.
It comes down to money in this town.
but
It simply does.
the money, I am a strong believer it's not a money issue. Okay, this last proposal we went with, it was $1.2 million, buying a property, renovating it, adding on. We were gonna use $500,000 out of fund balance, $700,000 was gonna be bonded. It was 25 cents impact the first year, down to 19 cents. It was $50 on a $250 home. You can't tell me that is impacting by the dollar.
They didn't look at that number. What they looked at was $1.2 million. They didn't care that they were only paying 25 cents. They cared that that the town was going to fork over 1.2 million.
Right,
That-
and it was gonna get them a police
But
station.
they didn't look at that incremental cost. They looked at the big number.
Well, how much, you know, it's easy for me to say this, it's not being, you know,
No,
living here
Yeah.
around, but, you know, that goes back to my point before about the transparency, the education, building that, educating people about it. Was there a lot that went into it, or did people show up at town meeting, they saw a warrant article and then said,
no, we started what the board now has said, well, maybe we started too late, but we started, I'm gonna say, probably in September or October, that this is what the plan we were going for. The police chief held
Okay.
at least 5 open houses at the police station to show
Yeah.
them
Yep.
the facilities. There was a, what do I call it, poster board, you know, for the people coming in here, or if it was at a public event, we'd post it there.
Mhm.
I don't
Does New Ipswich have a town newsletter?
know.
No, just the website, I think.
Yeah.
Website?
Yeah.
And Facebook.
And Facebook, yeah. Those are good.
Yeah.
Is it mostly positive on the Facebook?
On the official town page,
Yeah.
yeah.
There's a lot of towns in our region that do newsletters, which is a good, it's more work. But it's a good way of communicating about things going on in
Yeah.
town. And
Via email or via?
yeah, they're not published, they're just email.
Okay,
Yeah, it's like
Yeah,
a web-based
so
version
that's
of a.
inexpensive,
No, it's cheaper than mailing.
yeah.
I mean, if it's a web-based thing, that we could,
Yeah.
because we do have where people sign up on the website for notices. So that could be
One of
a
those.
database that gets used.
Yeah, so it could be a way to, like, when you made your announcements at the beginning of this meeting, and you could have that as part of it,
That's a good suggestion.
and it might be it's a device to educate people about an upcoming warrant article or something.
Just going on that idea, I've seen job boards posting for directors of environmental growth or something along that, or not environmental, like economic growth.
Yeah.
And it seems to me that what we need to do is make not the town residents aware of what we're doing, but reach out to outsiders, you know, from Boston, Fitchburg, Manchester, maybe even Keene, and say, look at New Ipswich. New Ipswich is an untapped resource. It's all natural. This is a great place to live. How do we reach out to people, not being able to afford a director of economic growth? Is there a mechanism where we can actually reach out to the universe and say, look at us? Not that we're offering a great deal, but you know, we can find some nice words to make it seem like we are.
Yeah.
How would you do something along that line?
Yeah, well, I think so the easiest would be do work on the website to make it more inviting but something that some towns that we're seeing in the region, towns are talking to each other about pooling resources for strategic economic development purposes. The example that I have is Hinsdale, Winchester, and Swansea are currently doing that. Also, each of those.
Can you explain how that worked?
Yeah, well, I think it's
Or what resources they had that were?
they're going after grants together. They're developing sort of memorandum of understanding that they won't compete with each other, that they'll work together. They're able to, they have their economic development committees meet from time to time and share information. Those kinds of things. I'm not closely involved in that group, but I can check with a coworker who has been more involved and can get me some more details.
It's interesting because the board previously had discussed setting up a meeting with the selectmen of the other towns. Because we're all neighbors.
Yeah.
We never get together. We never discuss ideas. We never discuss how we can do things. And I know,
Who would you go to? Greenville?
well, we could go to Greenville, Ringe, Sharon,
And Temple,
Temple, Mason.
Yeah.
I know our highway department has a relationship with Ringe, you know, on trading equipment and whatnot.
Yep.
But, you know, there are other ways that I think we could all benefit. But in my mind, I know that. What specifically, I don't.
Yeah.
And that's why when you talk about the workers of the town to be able to meet and come up with ideas, it's great. If I could just get a little more information on that to understand how we could
Bring people together.
to do it. Not so much to bring them together, but once you have them together,
What do you?
what are the
do you
type
talk
of
about?
topics? Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so, and that's why I keep thinking about the master plan, because you can use that as a unifying, a way to talk about, we wanna talk about what we want our town to be in 5 years and 10 years. We wanna talk specifically, and then you can set the agenda too, you can say, we wanna talk about economic development.
I mean, some towns have an economic development chapter of their master
They
plan.
do, I'm not sure if New Ipswich has one, do they?
I'm not sure either.
I believe
So-
it does, but it's
Okay.
nothing more than the questionnaire that had gone out to people is, yes, we would like to see more businesses come into town in order to reduce the taxes. But I don't, and you've been around enough planning, do you see that bringing businesses into town helps reduce taxes?
Well, yeah, typically that's the conventional wisdom that that is the case, but I think it really depends on what kind of businesses you're bringing in.
Yeah, I mean, people will always say, well, how come, look at all the business that Rinch has, you know? Look at it all. They have it all. Their tax rate's comparable with ours.
Yeah,
So,
that's right.
Get rid of
what
the
did you gain?
kids.
Huh?
Get rid of the kids, that's what fixes it.
It's, yeah. But the kids were there prior to the businesses,
Yeah.
so, and that's kind of how I look at it, is, and I gotta say, is a lot of people have told us, whenever we're trying to, you know, a little subdivision or whatever, no, I like the small rural New Ipswich. That's great. Then if that's the
Well, maybe
vision,
there's different sections of Ipswich. I mean, it seems to me you're talking about maybe a small part of it
Mhm.
is where everybody can be.
Correct.
Not the entire, you're not talking about developing the entire town,
Mm-hmm.
but, you know, that doesn't seem that controversial to me. But
And I think that's what the master plan has always focused around, because if you read the master plan, for example, the minimum lot size in the Village District 2, which is the center of the town,
Yeah.
is 1 acre, and it tells you the reason they did that was to allow greater density in that area
Yeah.
to grow. Well, you know, if we can improve that and make it accommodating to people, I think it's a win-win. And that's
Yeah.
why if you could give us some guidance on how to take that next step. You know, we understand there's gonna be several steps, it's gonna be a process, but
Right.
to understand what the steps are to achieve that end goal.
Yeah, so to me, I think starting at the foundation, I hate to be a broken record, but just, and you don't have, I don't think it's, I'm not trying to sell, you could use a private consultant if you wanted to. I'm not trying to sell Southwest Region Planning, but to me, this is, you're talking about master planning here, you're talking about, and it doesn't mean updating your entire master plan, but maybe it's the vision, an economic development chapter. Maybe if you think that transportation component, the walking, you know, walkability or something, if that's important, that gets taken care of as well. And the land, and maybe the land use, because maybe there do need to be some different ways of thinking about land use in the area to create that atmosphere that you're talking about. Maybe the 1 acre lots aren't cutting it. Maybe the fact that you don't, that the economic development is, land uses need to have to be special exceptions instead of by right. Are those things that need to be talked about more in this town? Should there be And also look at your land, what available land you have, what land is, and where is the land that could be developed that would provide, let's say you want a density as a goal in a certain area. How could that actually happen? You look at your constraints and what land ownership is, those kinds of things. So
But when
can
you say
develop-
land availability, as Bert and I have said, yeah, there's plenty of land. Well,
No, but you might want it in a specific place, right? I mean, you're talking, for example, down the hill here, as an area that might be a focus area for the town.
right,
Or
as a
common
focus
area.
area, right.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking from, because you touched on it earlier, and I'm not sure that we've ever lost an opportunity because somebody had to do a special exception approval versus by right. And I think because of that, and maybe you can help us out here, just so you know,
But is there
Bert's on the planning board and I was the
I
ex
know,
officio
yeah.
prior, so.
Yeah.
The thought process is that by the special exception, I think it gives us a little more control over what does happen. Versus if it's
No,
by
I-
right,
Yeah, I mean,
But you still have site plan review, even if it's.
yeah, but it's
but that's,
not the same,
that's cut
Yeah.
and dried. It either meets the code or it doesn't.
yeah.
But does it create a perception issue or maybe it's the process, as you say, is fairly straightforward and, it's not. it's
I'll
not
give you just a
cumbersome.
quick example. Dollar General. 1 year, we have a Dollar General that comes in that wants to demolish the school and put up a Dollar General in the center of town. Many people were against it. It was suggested to them that there was property up here for sale where it'd probably be advantageous. Nope, they wanted that. It didn't get approved. I think within a year,
Yeah, they came back.
a different developer came in, wanted to put a Dollar General on that property.
Yeah.
Got approved.
Right.
And so I think let's just say that center area was zone commercial,
Mhm.
we would have a Dollar General down there.
Incredibly ugly box store.
Yeah.
But you might have design standards, you might have specific land uses spelled out in the commercial zone that you would allow.
Yeah.
I mean, there are creative things that you can do.
Okay.
I think that put a little bit more, give a little bit more control to the town, but as you say, it isn't perfect.
Yeah.
But you look at places like Peterborough, they're pretty, I think see themselves as, pretty high class or whatever.
Yep.
But the development that they get in there, they get what they want because they do the tough negotiations and they have pretty good zoning. They don't allow drive-throughs is one example. They know that the Dunkin' Donuts going into town, that came into town at the corner of 101 and 202, was gonna create crazy traffic, and they had in their regulations, we don't do drive-throughs, so too bad. If you really want a Dunkin' Donuts that bad, you can do it, but you're gonna use the facade that was already there that we approved for that bank before you came in,
And people still stop.
And people still stop, but they need coffee. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't think there's any. To me, I just go back to building consensus in the community about what you want to do, and maybe thinking if you want to bring people together, have a specific agenda of what you want to talk about, whether it's economic development or a vision for the center of town or something like that.
And you bring up, because I kind of chuckle, is because I was in Peterborough on Saturday. downtown, and you look and you say, every parking space was taken. The restaurants, people are in there. They have the shops that people are walking to. And I'm sure Peterborough has earned that over an immense amount of time.
Sure, yeah.
But to start taking those baby steps now, I think
Yeah.
is the
And
time.
it's probably a different vision than what New Ipswich wants, you know, I'd say right off the bat that it, you know, they've got a lot of, historic architecture and historic development that created that center that you guys don't have, that you didn't have that, like you said, you don't have a common.
Well, no, we have, I mean, New Ipswich used to be a very rich place back in the 1850s. I mean, this
Yeah.
place was rolling in money due to
Yeah.
the lumber industry
Yeah.
and the finance center. When the lumber industry went, so did the money. But we have a number of historic homes, the Barrett House, and there's a line of historic homes down on River Road. But that's our claim to fame. And, you know, over the years, you know, it's, you know, like a sad little lizard, you know, claiming his mother was a brontosaurus.
And that center is on the National Historic Register as a community.
Yeah. And it gets a lot of traffic. I mean, everybody stops at the general store and.
Yeah, and we, you know,
Stops for
I see
gas.
people going to the Barrett House on Saturdays, you know.
Mhm.
So we're getting outside people here, but I guess in a way of making it welcoming and making it that they can go to more than one spot.
Yeah, I mean, what we need is, okay, people go, you know, make a point of going to the Barrett House, and then they wanna eat. And where do they go? They go to Jaffrey,
Right.
they go to Peterborough, they go someplace else.
Or even when they're at the Barrett House, though, you can't then go down the nice brick walk to the center of town to go to that restaurant. It's, okay, I'm gonna get in my car again, I'm gonna go down. And I think you pointed out earlier, and I thought that would be great, is to make it a walkable community. You know, that's,
At least for a small portion of it.
Yeah.
You know, where you have a number of different institutions that are open to the public, either to buy things or it's a public facility like a park or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish I had, I mean, this is a really good discussion and it's encouraging you're all talking about this, and I think it's an exciting idea, you know.
and we're just trying to figure out, you know, how do we take that next step?
Yeah.
And you've given us some good ideas to start looking into, and I think now with spring and warmer weather coming up, it may be a good time to try and get the public involved
Yeah.
on their thoughts.
Yeah, and I think part of it too is where is this, you know, when you communicate with the public, where is this information going? Where is this gonna take us? What's your plan for bringing that? So, it could end up creating an economic development committee. It could end up going and feeding into a master plan. It could end up creating a ad hoc festival committee. Who knows what it is?
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe it's bringing Plan New Hampshire in. That's what you decide to do.
Well, that was one of the things we did reach out to, and the funding for it, you know, day later, dollar short. We hadn't thought of it early enough to.
But it's constantly rolling, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you can always do it next time.
Yeah.
Get your name on the list.
Well, thank you for coming
Yeah.
in.
Yeah,
What
no
other
problem.
information you can forward to Colada, that would be great.
Yeah.
And
Will do.
we'll try and get this ball moving.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
I think the ordinances and policies will wait till John comes back.
Yeah, I need to read through them anyway. I got them this morning, and I was out of
Good
town
night.
all day, so I
I have to
haven't
give this
got
back
through them
to
all.
you. I explained to them the other day.
Okay,
That was fine. I could understand why
Good.
those certain ones went up and down. That made sense.
all right.
Any other public?
I got a little bit, kind of a question inquiry. Who owns the old town hall? Is it town, or has that been turned over to the Heritage Committee?
Which no, the old town hall is the town, the one on Cross Street from the
Yeah,
Congregational
yeah,
Church.
yeah.
Town owns that.
Okay, because the Heritage Commission is talking about working on the sill.
No, we've
And-
hired a contractor already.
Okay, as work on the sill will begin this spring, we discover steps, that's part of the minutes. And I was concerned, I don't know if they're proceeding or if we should be involved in their activities.
They are interested in having a select board member.
Well, I'm the member.
Okay, you're their
Yeah.
member.
And I'll be
Yeah.
going to the meeting, I couldn't
Great.
have attended on the 21st anyway, I was out of town. But-
This isn't really, I think, in their purview as a Heritage Commission. They're not a historical society, they're a Heritage Commission, it's supposed to
Right.
be the heritage of the community.
Yeah.
As far as the facility, I thought the select board
We're
scheduled,
at the meeting on the, what, 29th? 29th, the evening of the 29th, to go look at it.
yeah,
And so forth, but I was just concerned that that's several weeks off and that they're
No,
doing.
this part here, you know, or maybe you don't know. We awarded that work to a contractor last fall, late in the year.
Oh, okay.
He said, can I wait till spring?
Okay, so there is
He said
some
fine.
work that's
Yes,
going to be taking
yeah,
place, okay, that's what I wanted to
And then
know.
the caveat with that is the highway department was gonna go down there and put in sub-drains along the eave lines on both sides of the building.
All right.
'Cause that was one of the major contributing problems,
Okay,
so.
all right, let's see, at
But if they
Decker-
would like
oh,
to
excuse me.
attend our meeting when we're walking through, I would not,
Yeah,
that'd be fine.
I'm attending the next meeting, I think it's on the 10th or so.
That would be,
Oh, yeah, I think they're
You
meeting
wanna
on
send them
10th,
an
so
email?
I'm gonna be at their meeting and I'm gonna bring them up to speed and so forth, that's why I've asked
Oh,
them
the 10th will be
questions.
before the,
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
So I'll tell them that we're meeting there, and if they would like to send their representative, that would be great, and so forth.
Yeah.
Okay.
good.
I saw through the package we were signing off on, something about emergency management director sending a resume. Have we got a group of those resumes in, or just
That's
it's
the-
minimal interest?
That's the only one.
Did we get one?
We did,
Yeah, I heard.
yeah. And I've gotten a couple inquiries from people who thought it was a full-time position.
Oh, yeah.
So I've just, talked to
Yeah.
them and explained it
Yeah,
I'd like to schedule that.
for an interview.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah, he looked good on paper.
great.
I haven't seen it, but there's somebody I've been trying to get to take that position. And, he's always says no. And I says,
All right.
if you don't find me somebody, then it's you. And he told me today he did find somebody.
Okay.
And
All right,
he
just-
said he'd be a great person for that position. So I says, did he send it in? He says, yeah. I says,
Yeah,
okay.
As I mentioned before, Ed Decker is terminal. I'm going to write a recognition letter for our next meeting, so we can present it to him, although we're trying to balance his dignity with his illness or whatever. Here's some of the comments that Liz wrote up. You might have some others to add to that. Some sort of letter that you, John, and I can sign and say thank you for his years of service to the town. But I'll try to write something up nice and we'll put it on some town stationery or town letterhead, as the case may be. So forth, so hang on to that. One other item was when we signed for the new vehicle for the fire department.
Yep.
I got an opportunity to talk to Meredith about the lack of a holding tank or an oil grease separator. Apparently there was not one.
Correct.
And I said, that I'd be more than happy to, witness some deep holes or some soil testing and see if there actually was ledge. We get the highway backhoe up there and punch a couple test holes to see what we could possibly put in the ground for a holding tank or an oil grease separator. for their drain system.
But we haven't funded any of that.
I know, well, if we just get the highway department backhoe, they just see what.
Oh, no, but I'm
see
just
what
talking
we can
about
work.
putting in an MDC trap, getting that to go.
No, I know it hasn't been funded, I'm just saying, you know, we can try to cobble together a design for it, they're not that hard. In fact, you can buy a prefab one if you like.
By a prefab MDC trap.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm aware of that.
Yeah, so, I mean,
But we didn't fund that in this year's budget.
I know,
And then we have to also contend with, where does it go after that?
well, yeah, and that's kind of what, you know, Meredith and wanted to explore with myself and Peter. Just go punch some holes, see see what's available out there, what we can do,
Mm-hmm.
and come back with recommendations to the board. Investigation.
Yeah, because I spoke to Peter about that the other day, because I asked him,
Okay.
do you have a MDC trap? I'm told that you have one. I said, no, we don't have one here. And he says, what's the difference between them washing their trucks outside and backing them in, like Greenville, Jaffrey, all the other towns do?
Yep.
And I don't know what the ramifications are one way or another.
Okay, and that's all I got.
Okay, so you're gonna invite the Heritage Commission to the 429
I will.
meeting? Okay. And
It'd probably be equally interested in the old school as well. Wouldn't they?
oh. See, from when I read what the Heritage Commission's supposed to be working on, it's the heritage, it's not the facilities that we have. You know what I mean? Their input on the old town hall, I think, would be great as far as being able to say, hey, maybe we could then put on some type of heritage event here or whatever it may be.
Yep.
Are you gonna talk to Peter on that test pits?
I'll mention it to him next time I see him. I mean, I don't know how big a rush we're in, but Meredith
The
did
only-
seem somewhat concerned.
Well, I wish he was concerned last year when we were doing the budgeting. Because we do have budgeted this year for paving that area. So I really don't wanna pave if we're going to be exploring different options, and I'm hoping that she has funding for that.
I'll send them both an email with a CC to you.
Let's do some testing. Because the other thing Peter told me that I wasn't aware of is that there is no leach field at the fire department either.
For septic,
Mm-hmm.
where is it going?
Holding tank. It's got to get pumped.
Okay.
There was a third thing you mentioned. Oh, the letter from.
Decker,
Yeah.
that's just a recognition. Something nice. Oh, the other thing you ought to be aware of is Debbie did a lot of work on trying to pull together some driveway regulations. I know you mentioned it about a year ago that you were interested in modifying or updating our driveway regulations. So she started to put together some info on that. I've got to review it, but I'll keep you on the loop once it goes in front of
Yeah.
the planning board.
I think she had shown me some of them.
It was lengthy, it was like 12 pages worth of stuff.
Because of different
Yeah.
towns, I think Milford's was in there.
Yeah, there was a lot to absorb.
Well, I'm thinking these types of issues that have been coming up for, this one is one. Another one is, I know we have in that subdivision regulation for paving the ends of the driveway.
The aprons and,
Well, it's not an apron.
no,
It gives you
the entrance, I should say.
the entrance, but I don't think it defines what that length needs to be. And I think somehow,
A number.
it's either it does, and it's, maybe it might be 15 feet, and I'm saying, well, geez, a
15
pickup
rings a
truck is
bell.
20. So,
It's either to the property line or 15 feet, and I can't remember which.
yeah, I think if more definition to those types of things, that would be practical. But hopefully, those will all get reviewed by the planning board and come up with their recommendations. When he was talking about reaching out to that Plan New Hampshire, I think, did you agree we're probably too premature for that, especially where funding's required? That we should try and go the route of public engagement first?
Well, I think what we need is a clearer vision of what we have available to work with, even if we might have to buy a property or somehow obtain a property, or, and then say, this is the direction we would like to go with it, how it should be developed, or I just don't have a clear idea of what everything we would like to accomplish. I know you talk about sidewalks, you talk about a park, a walking park, but question is you have to place it on the ground someplace. I mean, parking downtown is at a premium. Pizza on Friday night is tough.
I have no problem.
When you walk across the street, hello?
But, I think the library is tougher
Well,
when they're holding an event.
they're holding an event, it's
Yeah.
usually right up until 7:30 at night.
Yep.
Everybody is looking to get their dinner at Pizza Haven too, at that same time or maybe a little bit earlier. And that area starts to get congested, and people are coming around that corner, from coming down the hill or around the other way, and people are walking across back and forth, to get there, and the lighting is marginal over there.
I've never seen at all an issue for safety.
I
I live there, I watch it, I walk it,
Yeah, I know.
I
and
don't see it, but it's it's inconvenient.
I just see a little kid zipping across when somebody's coming around that corner, and bam,
And that could happen at
any place.
1 o'clock in the afternoon.
it could.
Yeah.
But when it's dark, it looks like it has potential to be hazardous.
Well, that's a well-lit area in town. There's a light post right across from my driveway that lights that area up, and there's another light
It
post
just doesn't feel like
on Main
well lit.
Street.
Just
Well,
does not.
again, I think that's something that part of this,
But that's part of it, development of the lighting, development of the walkways, development of, the landscaping,
Mhm.
The ability to walk up to the chocolate shop, ability to get that horrible gas station out of the middle of it, but at the same time, we need a gas station in town.
It's quaint.
yeah, that's why I look at it and I say, can things be done to make it look nice? Easily. Easily.
I think that was JB's point, is that you need to ask other people.
Right.
What do
Right.
they like and what do they don't like?
Yeah.
And what do they envision?
And if you didn't have that gas station there, people would be very upset.
I agree, but it looks like the gas station right out of Maybury.
Perfect. Perfect. You want it to look
And
like
the guy says paper or plastic.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do
You know.
you want an Irving gas station with a high?
Hell no. But, you know, a tree or two, a bush or two.
And
but-
that's all it takes, and that's why I think if you, this is where I thought you were going, is get that, whether it's Plain New Hampshire, Southwest, somebody that can take the feedback that we get from the public and come up with a plan to say, hey, and it doesn't mean that we're gonna do it all at one time. You could, you know, this little bit, but create that vision.
You know, Chief Carpenter told me that Plan New Hampshire did a charrette here around 2008. And I haven't been able to put my finger on it.
Mm,
No, that doesn't ring a
doesn't
bell.
ring a bell, but.
Not at all,
No.
no.
You know, I think what would be helpful for you is to see what their end product looks like. And I know they did one over in Ridge. I think they've done them in Jaffrey.
Well, I think they did Wilton.
Wilton.
Okay, and I'll be honest with you. Yesterday afternoon, I was coming back. I said, I'm gonna cut through Wilton just to see. It looks the same.
Yeah.
I remember reading about, you know, they've got a new bakery shop down there.
Yeah.
So I said, I want to get out and go to the bakery shop. It was closed.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, so what did they do down? I don't see, I don't know if you've been down there or not, but I don't see
pretty
any
good.
aesthetic improvements or,
Well, that's the challenge.
Yeah, but
Is to
Wilton
get
is in the
enough-
same trouble we're in.
Yeah.
They're off the beaten path, even though they got a, like we do, we have one major road going through, they have one major road going through, Route 13 there. But their business is open, close, open, close, open, close. They cannot seem to get a sustainable set of businesses in there. And we've had the same problem up at the New West Mall.
The thing with this charrette is you need to get everybody involved so that what comes out of that event is a common vision. And then you need to do something with it. You need to change your zoning to allow for that to happen, or you need to, you know, put money aside in your CIP for specific improvements, or you need to approach the private property owners who are in that area and, you know, if they buy into it, ask them for help.
right.
So it's a lot of,
But it's getting that vision of the community
right,
and having somebody put it down on paper to say, this is what it could be.
yes.
But more so, we need to find some sort of coherent whole. We have too many splinter groups here in town that, you know, that are pulling in opposite directions.
We invite everybody. We're not
Yeah,
inviting just
but-
one group or
But you're
another.
gonna get
Everybody
you're
has
gonna
to
get
be
the
there.
haters, the naysayers, and the
Good.
don't
Just-
spend a nickel.
Okay, just come and tell me what it is. You know, this is, but where I have the little stumbling block is you put this together and you're asking them, what would you like to see? And that's great, but I'm thinking that it's so many different things. How do you gather what that consensus was? And I'm hoping that Southwest Regional or some entity has the knowledge of this is how we compile that feedback.
You know, Southwest Region Planning Commission did a master plan update in Fitzwilliam, and one of the valuable tools that I thought was good is they bought a bunch of like disposable cameras, you know, back in the day
Yeah,
when
yeah,
people had
yeah.
cameras developed, and they handed them out at their first public session to dozens of people and said, go out and take pictures of, you know, 10 things that you like about our town and 10 things that you don't like about our town. And then they got all the pictures developed and they brought everyone back together and they had boards set up. And that's kind of how they got the consensus. They said, Well, look at all these pictures that we have of the town hall. People really like the town hall. And look at all these pictures that we have of that, you know, horrible intersection at 119 and 12. People obviously don't like that, you know, so
How did you know what they liked and what they didn't like if they just sent you a picture? I'm just curious.
I don't remember.
All right, because I'm thinking nowadays everybody has a phone, so if you told them, hey, take 10 pictures, email them to us, you know,
Yeah,
that'd be a great idea.
wouldn't that be?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. They had to.
That's
label
what I'm
them
trying to think.
somehow.
How do you?
But I thought it was a nice hands-on way for the community to, you know, be able to articulate what they found desirable and not so desirable about the town.
Yeah.
And you know, I've been through the Plan New Hampshire charrette, and they do a similar process. But
Who
really,
did that one? That you
Southwest
just?
Region Planning Commission,
Oh, they did.
as part of a
Okay.
master plan update.
Yeah.
In developing that vision section for the town. So, I mean, I think that if the master plan hasn't been updated for 10 years, this could be, you know, this could be the way to get this off the ground.
Yeah, I mean, supposedly it's the planning board's responsibility to update the master plan. And we last looked at it in 2013. Tim Jones did the overview, and the board said, gee, it's too much work.
It's a lot of work.
And, you know, it's on the
2020.
discussion list
Could be the year.
for whatever our new chairman chooses to chase.
But did you say Southwest Region helped Fitzwilliam do this?
Yeah,
Yeah, but they charge for it.
they do. But they're relatively inexpensive compared to other
Oh, yeah.
consultants.
Do we ever get a cost from them?
Don't think we did, but good.
Maybe worth looking into.
You know, we could ask them to put together a proposal for those sections that he talked about.
Well, one of my chief gripes was that we don't really know what the townsfolk want. That, you know, I mean, I don't have kids in the school system, so I don't talk to other parents. You know, I'm a member of a couple organizations here in town, but I don't hit all the groups that are out there. You know, the school group is largely closed off to me because I just don't deal with that group. You have a wife who's a teacher, right, Dave? Your wife?
My wife's a teacher? No.
No, I thought she was.
John's wife's a teacher.
John's wife, is a teacher.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, well, get some input from that direction. But, you know, just kind of see what everybody thinks, but we, you know,
Well, how do you, first of all,
I just,
promote this gathering to get the people to
well,
come?
you know,
You use every method available. You
Yeah.
use the Monadnock Ledger transcript, you put it on the sign, you put it on the website and Facebook and send out
And
a
we
mailing.
put it in our
and-
new newsletter and.
Yeah.
and the scary thing is you see the same 50 faces
Yeah.
every time.
Yeah.
That's the challenge.
And I don't have a problem with that. It's just try and reach out to everybody by whatever means we have available and hope that everybody comes. If they don't, then, you
Yeah.
know, we deal with those that did.
Well, the problem is though that 50 faces that you see every event, meeting, you know, activity group, they represent 1% of New Ipswich. You don't see the disaffected, disinterested people. You don't see the naysayers, and you just don't see that hidden majority that says, reduce my taxes.
So maybe you have multiple events and
Uh,
you have one at the school
Yeah.
and you do it in conjunction with
But
a soccer tournament
But
or something.
reaching out to that group that does not participate, those are the people we need to reach, and I just don't know how to reach them. The people that are too busy with their kids, with their work, with their life. And while they may sleep here and pay taxes here, their life is elsewhere.
Why? Is it better elsewhere?
It's more exciting.
So that's what we need to hear from them.
Something.
Something.
Yeah.
It's a catch-22, but if we do nothing, we'll get nowhere.
You know?
So we have to,
Let's just keep bashing our head against the wall until
that's okay.
it stops hurting.
That's okay. Any other new business?
I do not.
I'd like to go into a non-public. Roman numeral 2, section C. Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I don't know if Ron got that or not. He did.